This is not your mother's Mahabharata. Beware. It's fucking epic. Hosted by S.P.Jayaraj.
Welcome to Not Your Mother's Mahabharata. This is S.P.Jayaraj. With me as always is my wife, Azure Anderson.
Hello.
Hello. And with us today is Kari Kusek.
Hi guys.
Carrie's here.
It's so good to be here.
Hi, Carrie.
I'm home.
Oh. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. Like you're coming all the way from Colorado.
Denver, Colorado.
Yep. But you know what? You're gonna have to tell us a little bit about yourself and include why you're referring to Minnesota as home.
Gotcha. So I grew up in Minnesota, not crazy far from where we are right now. And travels took me out. We moved away when I was a kid. Azure and I went to college together.
We did.
That's how we know each other back in Iowa.
20
years ago.
years ago.
Yeah. It's
Good
official.
Lord. But actually 24. No,
Right. 24 years ago
we met 24 years ago when you were my neighbor.
Next door neighbor. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
You were on my right side.
Brant 3W.
Brand 3W.
Yep.
Woo woo.
And I, after college, went out to Colorado and then actually ended up coming back for a little bit, met my husband, Mitch. Our kids are in the room as well. They're hanging out with me here. But I try every summer to come home to Minnesota and do that. When I'm in Denver, I am a campus administrator for a large school district, a middle school in a large school district in Colorado. And it's utter chaos. My specialty is math, but now my job is you're gonna love this acronym. You ready?
I'm ready.
I'm a SAC.
I shouldn't laugh, but it's probably really, really important.
I'm a school assessment coordinator. I'm a dean.
You're a SAC.
I do evaluate teachers these days. You know, I'm a SAC though. I really thought that you'd enjoy
You're a
that.
SAC through and through.
So what is a SAC?
This year I helped coordinate the state, the CMAS in Colorado. It's our state math, literacy, and science testing for 6th through 8th grade.
Oh, it's so important.
So yeah, it's a kind of a necessary evil these days.
You're a very important
and you need to do it right, because if you don't do it right, then it becomes real evil. So we did it right. We
Good.
Thank you for your service.
Successfully
And now it's
navigated a crazy amount of testing. And,
Oh my God.
And navigated the end of the year, and so another year under the belt. I think this was my 19th year of teaching, if it's our 20th college reunion.
Holy Hannah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I just sing songs for a living.
There's no just about it.
That's true.
You're pretty amazing.
Stop
Yeah.
it.
So.
So what is, and this is going to be a multifold question, I think, what is your familiarity with the Mahabharata? Because I know you have been listening to the podcast.
Yes. It is really you.
Okay.
You are our entry as a couple and a family. The story is this, that my husband was the podcast guy, right? So he kind of found podcasts and had time to listen to them. Found a podcast with Pete Holmes. And
I like that
and
one,
the
too.
spirituality of Pete Holmes.
Yeah, it's a
we're
great
churchy.
podcast.
You know, we're churchy, but the spirituality of Pete Holmes, and then Father Richard Rohr, and we just went down this pathway into the Bhagavad Gita, which both of us have read, but I didn't know much about the Mahabharata until you guys were like, we're doing this podcast, you gotta listen. I would have listened anyway, but clearly I love it, I'm here. And I am loving this journey that you're taking us on.
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah.
Cool.
There's also a good chance from what you're saying and from what I know of Mitch that you guys are probably more, at this point, familiar with the Bhagavad Gita than I am.
I mean,
So-
we read it, but it's dense, right? I mean, so I read it, and then through your suggestion, I read the My Gita. And Mitch is now spending time both with his My Gita book and also the Rama book.
Okay, so this is Devdutt Patnaik, who's
Yes.
definitely one of the people who I draw a lot from.
Yeah. If you need suggestions, listeners, about books, Satish is your guy. He knows the things and does the things.
Yeah.
So that helped me understand it, but now it's kind of, I've put it aside, but it's definitely one of those books, as you guys know, I don't tend to read books more than once, I don't tend to watch movies more than once. This is a book that I'm going to have to read multiple times because you just are going to pull something away. At every stage of life, every day that you read the same passage, you're going to read something very differently, so. But
the fun thing for me about doing the podcast is that that's kind of like every chapter that I do, I read multiple times in multiple versions of it.
And for me, listening to each episode, since I have the pleasure of hearing each episode, it only nails down the subject matter into my brain so that it's actually sticking. Yeah. It's a miracle.
I love that listening to you guys, though, that you're like, oh, that's the guy, and it helps me as a listener, too. Like, because I'm like, is that the guy that did the thing?
That is the guy that did the thing.
Yeah.
It's very helpful.
Nice to have Azure as, like, the constant keeping track.
I could see how a guest alone would really be hard to keep that linear focus through. So.
Yeah.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah, you're stuck with her, sorry.
It works out for the podcast, and especially with the sound editing and all the shit that I'm not ready to do. So, yeah.
I love
What else do I do on the podcast? Tell me more.
You did the imagery as well? And
you can stop.
I'm sure there's more. Yeah.
It's fine. It was a joke.
It's in our end notes somewhere. Yes. So, yeah.
Don't worry. I've written all the notes and put my name in plenty of it. So.
Fantastic.
Love it.
What do you like about stories?
Oh, I knew this question was coming. I think as a musically creative person, right? It's about the storytelling. It's about the process, but it's also about the recipient. As an educator, stories calm, they comfort, they educate. You know, when we look at why people were telling stories thousands of years ago, again, I'm less versed in this story. But when we look at mythology over time, every generation, every group across the world, explaining, right? Why does the sun come up? And people are telling stories. Parents using stories to educate, educators using stories to explain and work. And as my role as a dean, I use stories a lot too, because it's easier for kids sometimes to empathize with another person's story rather than change their mindset in their own story.
Yeah.
Sure.
And so I use stories in my work a lot like that. But again, comfort, enjoyment, just to sit and lose yourself in a story halfway across the world in other times and places. That's why I love stories. They take you other places.
I am excited to take you to a place I don't think you fully expected to go today.
Okay.
Because what we are actually going to do today, we're going to go way back into the beginning of the Mahabharata.
Okay.
At least as far as I know it, and talk about some of the early stories that talks about kind of the bloodline and tracks the bloodline a little bit up until the characters we really get into with episode 1.
Okay.
Cool.
All right.
Right? And so that really starts with the gods and with the moon.
The moon.
Not the sun.
Not the sun in this case. Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. Right now we're doing... So what's interesting about the Mahabharata is that many people see this as... They are known as the Chandravamsi, which is like the children of the moon.
Okay.
And
Chandravamsi?
Yeah. Chandravamsi.
Chandravamsi.
Yeah. So, but basically like the bloodline of the moon. Like, so this is, in a way, the moon story, whereas the Ramayana that came before it, that is seen more as kind of the children of the sun.
Okay.
And there are, like, obviously, like, we've met a couple characters in the story that are already like the children of the sun, but in general, like the lead characters. And so this is going to kind of follow that bloodline, but also, in a way, bloodline's the wrong terminology, and we'll get to that.
Okay.
So we're starting with what happens is that there are the devs, and then there are the asuras. So the devs are the gods living in the heavens, And then you have the Asuras, who I believe are living actually maybe on Earth. And what's interesting about when you look at the different stories of the Mahabharata is that the Asuras aren't necessarily evil. They're kind of called demons, but they're not necessarily evil. That's something that kind of changed over time as you kind of look at it. So what is happening is that there is, in order to preserve the heavens, the gods have what is known as a yagna, which is that the ceremonies that are being done that, in a sense, kind of protect the heavens. Protect them from being taken over.
From the demons.
From the demons. Because heaven's fucking awesome.
Love it, yeah.
Sure.
So
that's what I'm told.
Yeah.
That's what I hear too, but
yeah,
we'll see.
This story kind of gets into even a little of that.
Okay. This is the best.
Yeah.
Answering all my questions.
Perfect for us.
So the main person who's kind of who's in charge of these ceremonies and making them happen and making sure that that the heavens are protected and kept separate in that sense and not being taken over, not losing their power, again, the versions differ, is a dude named Brihaspati.
Brihaspati.
Yeah.
B.
Who I believe is also, I think he's the god of Jupiter.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah. If not, we're going to cut that sentence out. So,
Yeah, no problem.
Love it.
But god of Jupiter, and so he's in charge of this yagna. He's in charge of doing the ceremony, and he's very methodical. This is just a thing that he does. He has a wife named Tara, and Tara's just kind of fucking bored. The dude's...
He's very busy. He's doing other things.
He's busy.
Yeah.
He's doing...
He needs to pay attention to his lady.
Yes.
Well, he's obsessed with work of, defending the heavens, I guess.
All right.
So,
I mean,
it's a choice.
excuses.
Yeah.
Really.
so
You may continue.
Sure. So, as a result of this, the moon, Chandra, kind of is interested in Tara. Okay. Never mind that Chandra already has 23 or 27 wives.
What's another?
It's not enough. Yeah.
Chandra.
So he suddenly gets interested in Tara.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And Tara kind of sees the notice, and Chandra's very emotional. So emotionally active as opposed to her husband, who's very methodical,
work.
cold work.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Yep.
And so,
See the appeal.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Tara elopes with Chandra.
Okay.
And poor Brihaspati is fucking lost.
Is it because he doesn't know how to make his own meals, or because he misses her as a person?
This is a very important question.
I think so.
It is very important.
I would say more that first one.
Yeah. He doesn't know what to do with himself.
He's doing all the job duties.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But by the stories, he needs his wife by him to do these things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what my guess is too.
Can't do two things.
My guess,
he's doing a lot of work. I get that, but
he's doing a lot of work, and so
Yeah, but he
all
can't
the
make a
work.
sandwich.
Yeah. It's just some bread and some meat. Usually,
It's not. It's hard.
it's hard. Okay.
his sandwiches are just not as good.
Yeah. Well, that's just true. I bet they don't taste as
Yeah,
good. I bet
no,
he
they're
forgot
just
the
not as-
spices.
He doesn't
Yeah.
use enough condiments.
He
Yeah,
doesn't
that's
use-
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
doesn't do the mayo or anything like that.
I know people like that.
Dry, bland.
They're monsters.
Who? Actually, you know who does this one over here? Just meat and bread and no mayo, no nothing.
What?
Yeah.
Yeesh.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't
Which,
know.
I mean, if you can do that and survive, you're fine. Poor Brihaspati is suffering.
Yeah.
He needs his
He
wife
can't
by
make it
him.
work.
So he sends
Buddy.
envoys to Chandra, send back my wife, please. Chandra.
But I'm sure you have to be nice to the moon, right? You can't just.
Brihaspati is actually a guru of the gods. So an actual
Okay.
and him being, like I said, Jupiter,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
more in this order thing, Brihaspati is higher ranked.
Ooh.
And Brihaspati,
Than the moon?
Yeah.
Wow.
I came in when he said the moon. I had some thoughts that are all being. First of all, the moon is not the most important, but people are higher than the moon. I
Sure.
also had a moment where I wondered if the moon was more feminine because that's how we view the moon,
And the moon
Right?
is very emotional.
and the moon
moon is
is
very
very
emotional.
emotional. So I'm having
Interesting.
some moments as you talk about the moon being a man and then also not being as high ranked. But
Well, I
and,
feel
and we're gendering this moon that probably doesn't need to be gendered.
right.
in other
Even though
mythologies,
Modern perspective.
in other
Yeah.
mythologies that I'm familiar with, it seems like that the moon is often a woman too.
Yes.
So this is
There's usually a
interesting
woman
to
in the
me.
moon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So that's very interesting.
yeah, so a little different
Okay.
there. So
Here's why I
anyway,
ranked Annie saying please. I kind of okay.
please may have been my version.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Bethesda starts like trying to get this to happen and not sending her back. Finally, the gods get involved, and then he's basically telling them that like these things I do to protect the heavens, like I'm not going to be able to do them. And it's not so much a threat; it's more like I'm just not going to be able to do them.
Yeah.
And so the gods kind of struggle a little bit. The gods kind of think like, all right, what do we? Because do we want to get involved in this? This is a personal matter.
Right.
We don't want to be part of this. And so, but in the end, they're like, we have to protect the heavens. We have to keep order and keep the Asuras out.
Yep.
Maintain what we have and not let everything get ruined in that sense. So, they demand that Chandra does return Tara.
Okay.
So, now in some points of the story, I've had other versions where what happens instead is that this war between the Devas and the Asuras happens because of this. So in the sense that the Devas are like, they're all for law, they're all for like, no, they're married, they have to bring him back no matter what, whereas the Asuras are more about emotions, and they're like, this is love. Love should trump over
Yeah, she wants to
laws.
be with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but in the end, she comes back, and Indra makes sure. So Indra's like, do you take her back after all this? And Brihaspati says, yes, I take back my wife. She is my wife.
Yep.
At which point, Tara reveals that she is pregnant.
Oh, girl.
I was kind of waiting for this. Yeah.
And everyone's like, whose kid is this? So obviously Brihaspati's asking,
Yeah.
whose kid is this? But she doesn't tell.
Good for her.
She doesn't tell when Brihaspati asks. She does, and even for some reason, even Chandra didn't know. So Chandra asks.
Okay.
As like,
Interesting.
Is this my kid? And she doesn't tell. And the thing
It's
is, like,
not either theirs.
I mean,
that's a different episode. Yeah.
She was very unhappy.
And like, so the gods ask and the Asuras ask, and she's not telling anyone.
It's like, mind your beeswax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except then there's a voice that asks.
Oh.
And the voice asks, I want to know, whose child am I?
Oh, it's the
So her unborn child.
This unborn baby's talking inside of her.
Yeah.
Oh.
adore that.
You adore it? I think it's freaky.
Well, I mean, okay, now I just got a little Twilight in my head too.
I know,
Like,
we're back to
baby
Twilight
and-
again.
Yeah.
Twilight's back.
That was this great, like, mother-child moment, though.
Sure. Okay. I can get behind that. How sweet.
So the child asks, like, whose child am I? And then she can't refuse.
Child am I?
So she can't refuse at that
Sorry.
point. And so then she says that you are Chandra's child.
At least she knew.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm glad she knew.
Yeah.
Rough.
At which point,
Yeah.
Brihaspati goes apeshit.
Oh.
But he said he took her back.
That is what's key here.
Yes.
He, in that moment of finding out, curses the child to be genderless.
Interesting.
Okay. Again, modern perspective on an ancient world. Pull it back together, Carrie.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
okay. All right.
And
What does that even mean for this baby?
right. Curses the child to be genderless, and then Indra
Fascinating.
steps in and is like, This is your child you cursed.
Yeah.
This is, you are married to Tara, you took her back, as she is married to you, the child is also yours. And this is what's interesting is like, this is the setup for a lot of like the stories later in the Mahabharata where, as I said earlier, like bloodline's not always the right word.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it is just on like who raised the kids is the father.
It's like family ties.
Yeah.
But like, what do you call it?
Well, that was, and again, I'm going to forget names. Maybe you'll remember names. But it's
Maybe.
like, well, she's married into the family, so any child she has is the family's kids, that happens later with the brothers.
Yeah. That happens on like multiple levels, actually.
Yeah.
So, like multiple generations kind of in succession.
Yeah.
But this is kind of that first time that sets that as law. Like, this is how these things are. And so, and the child, its ability to kind of like speak and to know truth is named, I forget what the name means actually, but it's named Budh. So B-U-D-H.
Budh.
So that is the name of the child. And the child, born and grows up and like wonders, like wants a mate,
Sure.
but has no idea what the mate will be or who the mate will be and how that's going to work. And his mother Tara just kind of comforts him as like everything kind of comes cyclical. We'll see what really happens, but in a sense, like, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But in a sense that it'll all kind of come together and make sense.
Okay. Hello, listeners. Today's guest and my longtime friend, Kari Kusek, has been an educator for nearly 20 years in the Denver area school system, working mainly with kids in middle school. This can be a tough time for students, which is why Kari wanted us to share the important work of the Second Wind Fund, based out of Colorado. Suicide is the leading cause of death for youth in Colorado. It is an unfortunate reality that access to quality mental health care is limited. More so than ever before, it has become increasingly difficult to navigate mental health care and prohibitively expensive to afford therapy. This is where Second Wind Fund steps in. Their organization focuses on improving access and delivery of suicide care. Their unique program provides an avenue for families to obtain actual treatment services for children and youth at risk by breaking down financial and transportation barriers. You can find out more about the Second Wind Fund at thesecondwindfund.org. That is THESECONDWINDFUND.org.
Hi there, listeners. Azure and I hope you are enjoying this podcast as much as we enjoy making it. It would really help us out if you could like, share, and subscribe to this podcast wherever you are listening to it. What also helps us out is simple word of mouth. If you're at a party and someone starts saying, "Hey, I have a great story," don't even let them start. Interrupt them immediately and say, "I know a better story, and I know where you can find it." Seriously though, word of mouth is one of the most trusted ways that we can spread the word about this podcast to share the story of the Mahabharata. You can also support us on Patreon at patreon.com/spjayaraj. That is patreon.com/spjayaraj. And join the community over there too. Stay tuned to the end of the episode where we will ask our episode question that you can answer on the website in the show notes below. Alright, back to the show. There is another person whose name, Prince, actually I believe from the Solar Dynasty.
From the what dynasty?
From the Solar Dynasty.
Solar Dynasty.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Yep.
Because we were in the moons.
Yeah.
Yep. Now
Whose
we're in the
name is Sudyumna. And he is a prince.
Okay.
Sudyumna the prince is just on his horse, going about his own way, and he finds himself at the base of Mount Meru and the forests over there.
Okay.
And not a care in the world. Just goes into the forest as anyone can kind of do.
Yeah.
There's something funky about this forest.
Oh no.
Do the trees move? It's like the Ent forest.
Is it an ant forest?
It's not an ant forest.
Dang it. When did the ants come in?
Don't think ants come in this one.
Boo. Alright. Sorry. Still excited.
But comes into the forest and just notices there's like, it almost feels like there's some kind of unbalanced, but he can't really put his finger on it.
He just
Like,
has the
what
vibe.
exactly.
Yeah.
It just feels like there's an excess of something, there's something missing. I don't know enough about horticulture to fucking know what the difference is here.
Yeah.
But knows that something's going on.
Okay.
And as he's kind of going through, starts to feel like a cellular change within himself.
Oh dear.
Ooh.
And just traveling through, feels himself kind of changing a little bit.
Okay.
Wipes the sweat off his brow and his hair's a little longer.
Oh.
So doesn't know what's going on there.
Yeah.
And at some point realizes he's got boobies.
Oh, boobies.
Love this. Tatas.
Boobies?
Tatas,
Chi-chis.
boobies, chi-chis,
Breasts?
breasts. Yeah.
Breasticles.
Breasticles.
Oh, that's an old
That's an
one.
old one.
Old school. That's 90s.
Because we've known each other 24 years.
Breasticles.
Yeah.
I have not heard of breasticles.
Breasticles.
That's a new one
It's a
for
long
me.
time. Yeah.
That's 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Use it with your friends. It's a combo.
so
Testicles,
yeah,
testicles.
he's got the whole deal. He doesn't know what's going on. His voice is starting to change. You know, finds a river and like just sees like, yeah, he's definitely changing into a woman.
Yeah.
All right.
And when he looks to his horse is now a mare.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
And he realizes that this is the shit that's happening. Like, everything here is feminine.
Okay.
Ooh, I like
Interesting.
Like a whole, like Amazon, but not Amazon, clearly.
Yes.
Yeah.
The god Shiva, who lives on Mount Meru with his wife Parvati, will sometimes come into this forest, and in the past, they have been spied by sages,
Okay.
by wise guru people who, as we've heard from previous episodes, have not had sex in ages.
Yep.
Ages and ages and ages.
That's why they're so wise.
That's why they're so wise.
Yep.
But then when they come in and they see a goddess who's naked and possibly sometimes doing it with Shiva,
I mean,
it's not. Parvati doesn't really enjoy that.
Seems right.
So Shiva cursed the forest, or maybe blessed the forest, depending on your perspective, right?
We're gonna go with blessed.
blessed is
Yeah.
good.
Blessed. So that anyone coming into the forest, any creature coming into the forest, anything would turn feminine.
Okay.
And it's going to stick.
Oh. It doesn't just like turn off when you leave.
No.
Yeah.
Oh.
No.
Okay.
They should put a sign up.
That is.
They should have
should
put
put a
some
sign.
kind of
Yeah.
warning,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, so Sujumna, and he starts to feel like his mind is changing a little bit as well
Sure.
with all this, but there's like levels of like he's a prince.
Yeah.
And he's starting to get a little forgetful. So then Shiva appears to him. And so Shiva tells him, like, well, this is what's been happening. This is what's happening to you.
Yeah.
And so he's like, I'm a king. I'm a prince. I have to go back and be kingly and princely and all that shit.
Right,
Like, I
yeah.
cannot leave here like a woman. It's like, well, the curses, whenever there's in Hindu mythology, they can't be put back in the bottle.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
be,
This is this.
Somehow.
Maybe we can do something about it.
maybe we can do something
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
it.
There's
So,
not a 180 reversal,
Right.
but there's
They're
ways to
workarounds.
finagle.
yeah.
Workarounds.
Yeah.
Let me think if you have that math right when you say 180. I'm trying to think. Either 180 or 90 reversal can happen here. So, this is what he
You're
does.
talking to a math person. So
Okay.
Are we going complete back to the way it was, right?
So then 90.
Now he's a 90.
So-
A 90 would be this way.
Yeah, but that doesn't feel like the right number for this either. 180 feels like the right number.
That's fine.
No. So here's what he does.
you tell us after we
I
know
see where
it.
he's going though,
Yeah.
because it's not a true reversal either.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like another 180, but it doesn't make a 360.
right.
Yeah.
He basically says that I can reverse this halfway. Which means, and there are two versions of this.
Okay.
One is that it's monthly. One it's when, let me see, when the moon wanes or when it waxes. So when the moon wanes, you're gonna be a woman.
It's like a werewolf situation.
Oh wow. Okay.
But it's a woman.
But a woman situation?
Yeah.
Woman,
Yeah. And then when the moon waxes, you're gonna be manly.
You're gonna be man. Okay.
Or like I've heard another version where it's once every month.
Okay.
And
Dear.
there's apparently also in some versions where there's also this level of forgetfulness, like when you turn into the one, you will forget being the other.
That's stressful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does he
So
remember?
you're two separate people, basically.
Yeah.
That's stressful.
That would
Yeah.
be stressful.
Especially if you're a prince.
Well, because you have things. I mean, I assume that he's like a
Yeah.
I don't know why real
I
prince
mean, he
came
could
into
just
my
be-
head, but he
Yeah.
has princely duties, right?
Yeah.
It's not nominal.
But if he
it's-
knows when it's going to happen, he could just plan it like a golf outing.
some point they meet Budh.
Hoping this was
Oh my
coming.
god!
Yay.
Oh my god! I just got tingles.
Yeah.
Goosey bumps.
And the interesting thing about Budh is that, like, even though like seen as genderless, there's something really like, as they say, mercurial about him. Actually, sorry, Budh is also connected to Mercury.
Okay.
Okay.
And so there's aspects of them where, like, we've seen, apparently there are temples where they're female, and then there are temples when they are male.
Okay.
That's why I don't know if it's necessarily the same temple. It might be, there might be both. And so there's a
Cool.
fluidity to Budh.
Yeah.
So when Budh gets together with Ila, or with Sudyumna, when it's Sudyumna, the man, Budh is female, and then
Okay.
when Ila is female, well, when it's Ila, then he's a
He's
he.
more he's more
Yeah.
masculine. Yeah.
So
Interesting.
yeah,
That's so
so yeah, Budh has a happy ending, and they have a child. They either have a child or a descendant of theirs is a person named Purulava. Yeah,
I've heard that name. How have I heard that name?
It sounds similar to so many of the other names.
Okay.
Yeah.
Never mind.
So
I was like, wow, you really pulled that one out.
I
Nice
really.
job.
It sounds so familiar.
Yeah.
so we'll get back to Purulava in a bit.
Okay.
But I first want to tell you guys also about Urvasi.
Urvasi.
Urvasi is an Apsara.
Okay.
And so it is her birth that is kind of the most interesting thing. So actually for that we're going to go back to these two sages who existed way back before the Mahabharata, way back, whose names were Nala and Narayana. Such powerful sages that they kind of made Indra being the king of the gods, nervous. They were just afraid that he was just afraid that Nara and Narayana, if they got power hungry in any way, they could come and take over the heavens.
Yeah. They could.
So
Yeah.
what he tries to do is like, I gotta get these guys to get excited about something else.
It's gonna be a woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say pussy.
But I mean, but they never have sex. They never get to spend their load. That's how I said it.
Spend their load.
Their load. That's the romance novel reader right there.
Wow.
But yeah,
They never
then
get
their
to
wisdom is gone.
utilize that
right?
member.
Yeah.
Yeah, utilize their member.
Yeah, they never
Yeah.
get to utilize their member.
Yeah.
He sends
Ship card.
He sends all the Apsaras down. All the Apsaras to try and tempt these two.
Hello.
And it just, they're very devoted to each other. Of course, there's this idea that Nara and Narayana are also the twin avatars of Vishnu.
Okay.
And so that devotion between each other is something that just cannot be beaten.
Yeah.
So, but he sends the finest, the most beautiful spirits anyway. And what Nara and Narayana do is one of them, like, kind of like they look to one another, and Narayana draws an image of an Apsara on his thigh.
Okay.
In some versions, by Devdutt's versions I'd seen, it's like with a mango stalk of some sort. And then pulls that out.
Whoa.
And that is Urvasi.
Okay.
Oh.
And Urvasi is so much more beautiful than all of these other Apsaras.
Of course they are.
So the other Apsaras was, well, fuck this shit. Like, we got nothing now.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. And so,
So is okay. You're gonna answer this, I'm sure. But like, is that a daughter, or is that now like a
lover.
spouse lover?
not a lover.
Okay.
Okay.
But the interesting thing, of course, about her is that she is, and the fact that, like, because these two are always so interchangeable, it's like, was it Nara or was it Narayana?
Got it.
And was it something that a magic spell that happened between them that make this happen? So in a sense, she's got two dads,
Okay.
Cool.
right? So she comes out way more beautiful than all the others. All the Apsaras throw up their hands. Are like, well,
Guess we're going home.
Guess they're going home.
Yep.
And what they do is they, Indra then sees her, and Indra's like, oh shit.
Hey,
date.
girl.
Yeah.
And as a way of kind of showing their loyalty, to show Indra that they have no desire to take over the heavens, they offer for Urvasi to go to Devaloka to spend time, to be in the heavens with Indra.
With Indra.
Oh.
That's a creative solution to the
It is.
problem.
It is.
And so,
Did she want to go, though?
yes,
Consent matters. Yes.
as far as I'm aware of, that she'd loved her time in Devaloka. It is the heavens. I mean, who wouldn't want to go?
That's true. Lots of grapes.
And King of the Gods.
She spends her time mostly in the heavens, but will come down occasionally. It's either one of the two things. Either she will kind of come down occasionally, or our dude Pururava, who was the child of Buddha and Illa from the Chandravamsi line, right? Either he kind of manages to get himself a visit to heaven, or he sees her when she's outside of heaven. And so, but there's kind of a bond between them. So there's one version of the story where, like, Urvasi is dancing with a couple other women, a couple other apsaras, and they're just in such sync. But when she sees Pururava, she kind of gets distracted.
Okay.
And so falls out of sync, which pisses off Indra. And so he casts her out of the heavens for like 100 years.
Oh, come on.
Rude.
Or it's the other
It's
version.
really rude.
Yeah. Or the version is that he sees her and they form that bond, and she decides that she agrees to be with him under certain conditions. So she has this terms where she says that this is the best part. I have 2 goats.
One for each of you.
We need to
Okay.
make sure that my goats are protected.
Okay.
Listen, I'd say the same thing about our cats. That's
That's
rule
real.
number one in
That-
in
that's
our
true.
household.
That's
That's
true.
rule number one.
Yeah.
Grab the cats.
She loves her 2 goats.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love that.
And no one else can see him naked.
I mean, yeah.
Sure.
He's like, okay, like these do not seem like big deals to me.
Yeah.
At
Yeah,
all.
Sign off, check.
We can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Goats, keeping the pants on. Got
Goats
it.
and not well, making sure that no one else sees. You can have
right,
the pants off,
right.
but just not
Just
in front
not
of
out
other
and,
people.
and about. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, at some point, Indra wants her back, or it's like some of the Gandharvas who are other mythical creatures.
So after like 100 years,
Yeah.
Indra's like, all right,
Your punishment's over. You can come
I
back
forgive
now.
you for
Yeah.
losing a beat
Yeah,
when dancing for me.
exactly.
Oh, thank you, Indra.
Yeah, just come running back. Woo, woo, woo.
I mean, she probably did.
Well, I mean, he is the king of the gods.
It is heaven.
And it is
She missed all her friends.
Yep.
Yeah.
She
What
missed
did you say there were
dancing.
grapes?
Grapes.
There was grapes.
I
Yeah.
fucking love grapes.
Yeah.
Yeah. The best grapes in the world.
Best grapes in the universe?
Probably.
In all of everywhere?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, listeners. I would like to read you an excerpt from my book, Legacy of the Crow, A Gathering at Ishastra, Part 1. Kalisha was the first word that came to her when she awoke immortal. Her trembling body burned like lava as she rolled frantically upon the grass. Everything hurt. Even breathing hurt, though she could not stop herself from doing it. Fear overwhelmed her. Had something gone wrong? Was this a part of human existence she didn't know about? Would she always feel like this? She buried her hands and feet into the mud that was her womb. It cooled her. The pain subsided. The only part of her that continued to glow and burn was the tattoo on her forearm of a fully realized crow with folded wings. Actual crows gathered in the trees above her. They brought her insects, fruits, and nuts to eat, and guided her towards a stream for water. She was fully grown, but could only crawl for her first few days. As she got stronger, language and memories of an immortal life, as well as her purpose for being here, came with it. She was fortunate to be able to communicate with her crows, her family. She instructed them to bring her as many scraps of paper as they could find. Who knew where they stole it from? But from her memories flashing through her mind, she knew there was civilization around her. Her mobility was limited, but she fashioned writing instruments by cutting grooves into sticks and using thinned-out mud as ink. When she was nearly recovered from her transformation, Kalisha learned with some amusement that she was a woman. It was while drinking from a lake when she saw her reflection that the obvious dawned on her. By then, she'd forgotten what had made her a male spirit, with no physical body to define the phenomenon. But she did recall having what now seemed like an excessive amount of masculine energy. She enjoyed the surprise for what it was, not realizing the blessing it would be to her mission. You can find more information of Legacy and the Crow on my website, spjaraj.com. It is available for order at your local bookstores or on multiple digital platforms. Alright, back to the show. So,
Indra wanted her back.
Indra wants her back. Or there's other people, all the other like creatures in heaven that kind of want her back, like.
Yeah.
Or it's also been a big part of her scheme where like she also wanted to go back as well. Like this was never meant to be a permanent thing for her, and she needed some kind of out and some kind of deal.
Right.
Whoever was responsible, the Gandharvas come at the middle of the night, and the goats are tied to their bed, and the sneaky, elusive Gandharvas untie the bonds. And start taking the goats.
No.
No, you can't.
And Urvasi sees them.
Yeah.
And she screams, you know, I was like, you have a vow to me. You have to make sure you protect the goats. And so Pururava, like, sees the goats being taken out of the house, just throws off the sheets and runs out.
Oh no.
And he's
Middle
not
of the
a
night.
never nude. He's not
It's
a
the middle of the
never-
night, though.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Runs out, at which point Indra, god of thunder and lightning,
No.
throws out a bolt.
Yep.
No.
It lights up
up the sky.
No.
And so then Pururava is seen
Oh, in all
And
his
she's-
glory.
Yeah.
by everybody,
Oh.
by the entire village. There's no
Not even
debating
one.
this.
And
There's
he's
no-
like,
yeah.
hand over crotch, hand over nipples. No.
Yeah. I'm trying to fulfill my word.
I didn't mean to.
Yeah.
I was tricked.
That is a Trixie. That's not okay.
I don't care for
I
that.
like that.
I feel so sad for him. And how embarrassing.
Yeah, how embarrassing. And then these are the terms.
Yeah.
So she leaves.
Oh.
And he, so different versions of this, but he apparently does just kind of goes crazy.
Sure.
And then they, other people in that kind of, I guess, is other people in some sort of authority roles realize that we got to replace him as king. Mm-hmm. Now, either they had some children beforehand, or he does meet her later infrequently, and then they have children that way.
Okay.
Oh, not at the market. They meet up and bang.
Yeah.
Got it.
Like he needs an heir, so you got to
Sure.
come back for a hot second.
Sure.
Yeah.
He just
Exactly.
run into each other while buying oranges.
And it's not like a second meet cute.
And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I didn't know you would be here.
Yeah.
Bang, bang, bang.
Right. Just like that.
Bing, bang, boom.
Bing, bang, boom.
Awooga.
Which is funny because this whole dancing thing, and I had but it's not Bugs Bunny, it's the feminine bunny.
Yeah.
I don't know what her name is.
Babs
Bunny.
Babs.
Babs Bunny.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
just had this whole picture of Babs
Yes.
Bunny in my head.
Yes.
The whole time we were talking, but it's okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
What a visual.
Wasn't it great? She was the most beautiful.
She
Babs
was
is
so-
gorgeous.
I know.
Yeah.
Completely agree.
So there's another happier version where he ends up kind of doing certain other rituals, and he himself becomes a Gandharva,
Oh,
and then kind of go into the heavens himself.
Okay.
I like that version.
So
It's pretty good.
yeah, it's nice that there's something for everyone. It's like
Yeah.
no, this is unrealistic. He went
Yeah.
mad and that's it.
Yep.
There's let's give him a bit of a happy ending.
Yeah.
You
I
know?
suppose so.
So,
Yeah.
I like
we'll
the
believe
multiple
that.
versions.
So
Yeah.
yeah, which of course the Mahabharata is all about the multiple versions. So yeah, but then those children will continue that line of the Chandravamsi. And so yeah, we've kind of bridged half of the gap, I would say, between the moon and then until where we start with episode 1, which is where most people start with the Mahabharata. So yeah, so we've covered, I would say, kind of half of that, in this episode. So
That's awesome. I've kind of joked about the modern perspective on an ancient tale.
Yeah.
But the fact is that the queer world has always existed.
Always.
Always.
Yep.
Always.
And not just in the human world.
Right.
You know, so I
Yeah.
think
Yep.
that's something to continue to bring up for the people that
yeah,
are not yet ready to take on that
Right.
Yeah.
that learning.
Yeah, I mean, to acknowledge that this is in the ancient stories as well.
But it's clear from your story, this is, you know, but
But, yeah.
there's no question. There's you
Yeah.
know, there was flexibility, there was femininity, there was masculinity.
Yep.
There's no hiding this person. You just either tell their story or not.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
thank you for
And again,
telling
like,
their story.
yeah, and it's in many ways, this is the beginning of the Mahabharata. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I find it fascinating. So,
I like that.
that's what I got for you guys today.
Yay!
Cool.
Thoughts? Questions?
You know, as an avid listener, this story, the Mahabharata, like many, many stories across the world, also has this section of like so and so, and then so and so, and then so and so. You know, I mean, even the Bible has, you know, blank became,
Begat,
you know,
begat, begat, begat,
Yeah.
begat.
you know,
Yep.
and clearly they weren't the first. And so I think that's the word is fascinating. Is to see across the world people that had no communication with each other have similar stories in
Sure.
that they're explaining the same things. They're telling not the same tales, but telling similar stories
Yeah.
of their culture, the lineage stories. You
Yeah.
know, I think that's cool.
Yeah. Like we're all human beings are drawn to telling certain things about themselves. You know?
And when you dive into, again, I don't know why the mythology of the sun keeps coming to my mind, but each story is oddly similar. You know, when you look at the different, you know, the Mayans, the Incans, the Romans,
Yeah.
you know.
I mean,
they
that's what I do like about the Mahabharata is that beforehand I was very much into the monomyth. I was very much into the idea of Joseph Campbell's idea that, yep, all storm gods have such big similarities between them, all sun gods, all moon gods. But, you know, as I mentioned, like, the moon gods I know of are mostly female.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
this is kind of the
This
exception
is
to that.
interesting.
And,
Yeah.
and yes, there are some ties that you can see between Greek mythology and Hindu mythology that is kind of historical.
Yeah.
But I will say that from what I'm like being, I mean, I've been in mythology since like college. Like I
Right.
got into Nordic mythology, I got into Persian, and like these are the ones that I got so into it became part of my own world of Anajari and my own books. So I really got invested in them. And then when I got into like dived into the Mahabharata, like those connections are not as like one-on-one.
That's cool.
And it's and like I think part of it is also just the philosophies are different. And the big thing I think is the reincarnation aspect. Like the reincarnation aspect changes it from so many of the other stories.
That's true.
But there's just other things that do kind of speak to just different ways of viewing the world. Like when you're looking at the Western view and Eastern view, just like and I think the aspect that there is definitely, like, I do believe that there's absolutely some history to this. It's too specific, and there are people who
Yeah.
believe that the Mahabharata is true, and I think that there are some aspects of this that are definitely historically true, that have been merged with mythic ideas.
Yeah.
So,
Totally.
yeah, so the fact that the
Totally.
Mahabharata is those things that has those similarities, but then also isn't, is something that I find, really fascinating.
Yeah, and I think I don't know if you guys have talked about the length of it too. I know Mitch has mentioned, I mean, this is just like the most epic of epic stories.
Yes.
And I think that talks about the age of the culture in India.
Yeah.
Is for sure. But
I think, like, when you talk about the age of it, I think, because this is a story that has been an old storytelling, and then it's been kept being retold, and you imagine with the retellings, like, it must have expanded in certain areas and
Right.
certain things,
Yeah.
and so that's why, I think you're right, like that's one reason it is just so massive, is because it has just continuously been, like, expanding
yeah.
in that sense.
And it's a civilization, you know, unlike Greeks and Romans where they died.
Yeah.
You know, the civilization ended.
Yeah.
But again, that's not what happened here. It's just a story that we don't hear about because, you know,
Yeah.
white-centric history books.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I just think I think it's a fascinating story, and I can't wait to hear all of them. I mean, we listen to all of them, so.
Yeah. We will be doing this for quite a while, which is nice.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, on that note, listeners, hope you enjoyed this. Have an imaginative day. Kari, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Not Your Mother's Mahabharata. Please like and subscribe to the podcast so that you don't miss our next episode. My name is S.A.C, and I am your storyteller and researcher. My wife and co-host is Azure Anderson. Azure also wrote the theme music, she did all the editing and producing, and essentially did all the work to get this podcast to you. Without her, it would just be me swearing ancient stories to friends in our living room. Join us next time for the next installment of Not Your Mother's Mahabharata, and have an imaginative day. And please do join the Not Your Mother's Mahabharata conversation and community by answering the following question on the episode page in the show notes. What was your favorite gender twist in this episode?